Greetings all. I hope that you guys are good today. Let's have a look at Brent futures. So I've got the monthly chart open, as you guys can see, and we can see that we had a very nice W structure in this region, with the neckline of that W structure being at more or less this area over here, right? Price broke to the upside in terms of that neckline, and then came back down to retest that neckline, right? So this neckline is also a very strong area of support, and that is because we had a touch over here, we had another rejection over here, and it seems as though over the next couple of weeks or even months we will see another rejection possibly at this point, right? And this is where we would look for further buying opportunities, and that is because when it comes to, as I usually say, W structures, we would love to see price break above that neckline and then come back to retest it and then push further up, meaning that we would look for buying opportunities at this point over here. And that's exactly what's currently happening in regards to the monthly chart of Brent futures, right? So the next thing that I'm going to do is just add a neckline to that W structure, so just bear with me while I do so. Let's see. There goes our neckline, right? There goes our neckline, right? So let's see, is there anything else of importance that we should be looking at on this particular chart, which is the monthly chart of Brent futures? The answer to that question is yes, and that is because we have this candlestick over here. It is a liquidity candlestick, and it tells us that in the future price has to head up to that level to grab that liquidity, right? It's very important. I'm just going to mark it as well. Just bear with me. There goes our liquidity candlestick, which is carrying a whole lot of liquidity at that level. So let's continue. The next thing that I'm going to do is to utilize the Fibonacci retracement tool, just to see if that neckline of that huge W structure actually aligns with any of the key numbers that we have on the Fibonacci tool. So just bear with me. Let's see, Fibonacci. Okay, here we go. And here we go. Right. Let's see. So can you guys see that currently price is about to test the 61.8% level on the Fibonacci retracement tool? Ideally, I would have loved the neckline to be in alignment with the 50% or the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement zone, right? Zones rather. Yeah, so as I said, currently price seems to be heading towards the 61.8% zone, and we might get a reversal at this point where price currently is, as opposed to getting a reversal at this point, right, where the neckline is. Myself personally, I would love to see price head back to the neckline to actually test it, and that's where I would look for possible buying opportunities, as opposed to the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement level, right? Anyway, let's proceed. I'm just going to delete this tool and proceed. So the next thing that I'm going to do from now is just head down to the weekly chart. So here we are on the weekly chart. I'm just going to make it slightly bigger. Just bear with me. There we go. Right. So what do we see on this chart? On this chart, I can see that we have a very nice M structure in this region, with the neckline being at around this level more or less, right? And we can see that price broke to the downside of that neckline, and the anticipation next is for price to head back to the neckline to retest it, and that means we would look for possible selling opportunities at this point, and our take profit would be this level over here, right? Yeah, and that is because this level is the neckline of that huge W structure that I spoke about on the monthly chart. Having said that, just also bear in mind that the level at which price is at currently aligns with the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement level. So as I said, I would wait for price to head back to the neckline to retest it, and this is where I would look for further selling opportunities, and my first take profit would be around this zone over here where we have the neckline of that huge W structure that we spoke about on the monthly chart, right? So yeah, so the next thing that I'm going to do is add a neckline to that structure, which is the M formation. Just bear with me. Let's see. And just also bear in mind that necklines are not actual lines. They are more an area than an actual line, right? So there we go. There we go. So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? I don't see anything further at this point in time. So I'm just going to head down to the daily chart. Here we are on the daily chart. Let's see. What do we see on the daily chart? So on the weekly chart, I'd spoken about the fact that we have a very nice M structure here, right? And I said that we should wait for price to break below this neckline and for it to head back to the neckline to test it and then look for selling opportunities. Now that we are on the daily chart, can you guys see that the retracement back to the neckline is better visible on this chart? So we would have looked for selling opportunities at this point. Let me just remove that drawing. We would have looked for selling opportunities at this point over here, right? And that is because we have the M structure, the neckline of that M structure. Price broke to the downside of that neckline and then went back up to retest that neckline, and the neckline held. So we would have looked for selling opportunities at that point. So if you sold at this point, as I said, your take profit should be where we have that neckline of that W structure that we spoke about on both the monthly chart and the weekly chart, right? So let's proceed. The next thing that I'm going to do on this particular chart is add my daily channel. So just bear with me while I do so. Let's see. Let's see. So there goes our daily channel, right? So as much as I've said that we would have looked for selling opportunities at this point, and our take profit should be where we have the neckline of that W structure. Just also bear in mind that we have this trend line over here, and it is also quite possible that as much as we're expecting price to bounce, or rather to push further down, what may actually happen is price may, from where it is, push down to this level over here where we have this trend line, and then push further up to retest this level again, because it is now a very strong level of resistance, and it may actually push further up to again test this trend line as well, and also it may push further up to this level as well, because it is that level that I spoke about where I said that we have a whole lot of liquidity sitting at this point, and that liquidity needs to be triggered by the market at one point or another, right? So let's proceed. So what else do we see on the daily chart that we should be paying attention to? At this point in time, I don't really see much, although I think I should point out that as much as we have this huge W structure, or rather M structure, we also had a very nice M structure over here with a neckline at that level, more or less, right? And we saw price break to the bottom side of that neckline, and it went back up again to retest it. So there is confirmation in as far as selling goes. Number one, we have this huge M structure with a neckline here, Number two, we have this smaller M structure with a neckline in more or less the same area. Price broke to the bottom side of those two necklines and then went up again to sort of test rather those two necklines again, and we saw it push further down, right? So yeah, that's how I see it on my side. Let's continue. I'm just gonna head down to the H4 chart from here. Let's see, on the H4 chart, I'm just gonna fix my lines. We just need to make sure that they are as accurate as can be, as I usually say, and that will allow us to make perfect executions. There we go. Right, so here we are on the H4 chart. So what do we see on the H4 chart that we should be paying attention to? Before we proceed, I'm just going to add my H4 channel as well. Just bear with me. So there goes our H4 channel, more or less. There we go. Right, and we can see that we are in a downward trajectory, right, and we expect the market to move further down. So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? So as much as we have those two M structures that we spoke about on the bigger time frames, just bear in mind that we also have what seems to be a W structure in this region forming, right, with this being the first leg of the W structure and this side being the second leg of the W structure. Remember that where price currently is, we looked on the monthly chart, I think, and we saw that this level is actually in alignment with the 61.8% retracement level. So as much as we're looking for selling opportunities, or as much as we have sold, we might have sold at this level, what may actually happen is that price may push further up from where it is, right? And that's also because a lot of traders and investors buy on second legs of W structures. So in this particular case, they would have bought at this leg, which is over here, right? And I take profit may be this level again, because it is a very strong level of resistance at this point in time, right? So we just need to keep that in the back of our minds as well. Let me just make this slightly bigger so you can see clearly. Right, let's see. Yeah, so we can see that price seems to have pushed further down below this level over here, and it may happen that price is currently moving further down as we had anticipated, as we said that we would have looked for a selling opportunity at this point, right? So it may be that once the current H4 candle closes below this area, below this line, in fact, I believe that this W structure will no longer be relevant, in my humble opinion, and we are likely to see price continue to move further down to the neckline of that huge W structure that we spoke about on the weekly chart, right? So that is it in as far as my analysis goes of Brent futures. Peace out.